Hello, and welcome to Industry Reactions. Industry Reactions is a weekly briefing on industry events, changes, and future trends that impact your business. We're your hosts, Rick Honer and Mark Friel from ChemPoint. You can find Industry Reactions on YouTube, LinkedIn, and as a podcast. For those watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and smash that like button. We plan on discussing issues that impact the global industry and help you uncover new opportunities. We also hope this will provide market intelligence that'll keep you ahead of changing conditions.
All right, and our first story this week is the latest index to come out around the good news in our industry. So this week it was the Global Chemicals Production Index that's put out by the American Chemistry Council. It was up almost 0.5% in May. Pretty significant increase, most notably North America, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Other regions were a little bit weaker, but the index is up in May, almost 20% year over year. I think that's no surprise. Obviously, May of 2020 was a fairly depressed month, but we're still seeing significant gains. And year to date, the index is up almost 16%. So we're seeing some very positive trends continue in our industry.
Yeah, that's really good to see. You know, after last year, clearly everybody knows, and to see this kind of momentum, but now you're seeing the strains on the other side, which, you know, seems like every week we're talking about either short supply or high prices.
Yeah, and over the next month or so, we're going to see a lot of companies announce earnings, and all indications are Q2 earnings are going to be very, very strong. On Friday, BASF announced preliminary earnings, and their sales and earnings looks like they're going to be up 50 to 60%, fairly significant. And it's not just volume that's bouncing back. I think half of that was coming from price movements.
Yeah, that's I could easily see that. When you look at the impact from all the supply that was taken out, so there's a lot of earnings coming from margins being made on lower volumes.
Let the good times roll.
All right, and speaking of those earnings, you know, the next story that we're talking about is all that demand, the high pricing, the profits for chemicals specifically has been catching attention from both buying and selling entities within our industry. Elevated valuations and elevated mergers and acquisitions activity are kind of expected over the next several months, which means, you know, stories similar to where we've seen where businesses are evaluating, they're pruning businesses that maybe aren't the best fit. But right now you want to sell while the valuations are really high. So it's time to prune and, you know, basically sell that Ford Pinto that's been sitting in your parking lot for a while.
Yeah, it's not just the Ford Pinto, it's all types of cars. Yeah, there was an investment banker that said there's going to be a slew of businesses that come up for sale because of these high valuations. So businesses and products are being sold at very high multiples right now. All right, now moving on to oil and gas. The number of drilling rigs, specific in the US, continues to tick up. I believe last week there was 4 rigs that were added, bringing the count to 479 when compared to a year ago, which is not a very fair comparison because it was so depressed. But a year ago it was 258 rigs. So a fairly significant increase. Crude oil continues to hover over $70, closer to $75 a barrel. Yep, oil and gas continues to be strong right now.
Yeah, the big kicker there is what's going to happen with that, you know, with OPEC. It seems like they can't, right now, their collaboration or there's some cracks in that overall partnership. We'll see where that leads.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to potentially foresee additional capacity being cranked out from those countries, and what kind of impact that will have on pricing. But who knows? That's just a guess.
All right, let's talk a little bit about rail traffic, as we do every week. So rail traffic was up last week by 7% from the prior week and up 15% year over year. Also, when you look on a year-to-date basis, volume's up 5% from 2020, which is surprisingly low given where 2020 was. But and if you compare it to 2019, you're just basically on par with 2019. So as we were talking, that one really surprises me. I would think that volume would have ticked up above 2019 given the what we're seeing in the industry. But to your point, maybe most of that is just pricing and earnings and less about volume.
Well, a lot of the volume, there was a huge decline in rail volume in late February, early March due to some of the shutdowns and the deep freeze. That's
true.
Probably still weighing pretty heavily on these numbers.
And it's got to work its way out. Yep.
It's got to work its way out. All right, moving on to new product introductions and other company announcements. SASALL is in the news. They're partnering with Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. They're going to be working together. They signed a memorandum of cooperation. They're going to be working together on some green initiatives. Apparently some green hydrogen economy they're going to be collaborating on. Obviously, SASALL is in a very unique position because it has the resources and infrastructure as well as the Fischer-Tropsch technology that will help in this partnership. So kind of cool to see SASALL in the news from a green chemistry perspective.
Yeah, it's, that you see this from some of the big ones. This is the first one I've seen from SASALL. It doesn't mean they haven't been out there, but it's good to see some progress. All right, so in some mergers and acquisitions news, BASF and CD&R basically signed an agreement to sell Solenis. If you don't know, Solenis was pretty big into water treatment chemistries, and so they're effectively selling that business to Platinum Equity, which is a private equity firm out of California.
Yeah, that's big news for sure. Over $5 billion from a price standpoint, 5,000 employees. That's going to have a pretty big impact.
Yeah, huge business.
All right, and joining the acquisition party is DuPont. They announced they successfully completed the acquisition of Laird Performance Materials. I am not too familiar with Laird. I don't believe I've ever run across their name or heard of them, but they're a quote unquote world leader in high performance electromagnetic shielding and thermal management solutions. So this is going to get bundled into DuPont's electronics business, which has been a very strong and good business for DuPont for many years now. So it looks like a very good acquisition with some significant synergies.
Yeah, it looks like that type of technology around mobile devices especially. All right, last story is around LSI, which it's a carve out, creating an independent business from Lonza. So it's LSI stands for Lonza Specialty Ingredients, and they are formalizing that separation or carve out from the broader Lonza group. It's still a very large business as a carve out with 17 manufacturing sites, 2,800 employees. But the focus of that business, the LSI business, is products into hygiene, personal care products, and biocides, et cetera. So it's good to see that completion and puts a separation from specialty to the remainder of the Lonza group.
Yeah, and the company will be held by Herons Holdco, which I'm not too familiar with, but they're controlled by private equity firms Bain Capital and Cinven. All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of Industry Reactions. We'll return next week with a fresh batch of industry reactions. So until then, stay safe.
Take care.